The mathematics of modulation. This presentation covers the mathematics of modulation and establishes with simplicity the expression for amplitude modulation. It goes on to apply the same process to impulse modulation and ends with a statement and proof of the sampling theorem. The book, of course, continues to be B.P. Lathi, and of course, some material has also been accessed from the internet. We begin with the understanding of the mathematics of modulation. If we take the Fourier transform of the signal gt, it gives us j omega, the spectrum of the signal. Then f, the Fourier transform of a function gt e to the j omega 0 t, will simply be equal to g omega minus omega 0. This is known as the frequency shifting property of the Fourier transform. Now let's prove this. If you see the proof, then the function f gt e to the j omega 0 t is simply written as the integral going from minus to plus infinity of gt e to the j omega 0 t e to the minus j omega t dt. This translates to the integral going from minus to plus infinity dt e to the minus j open brackets omega minus omega 0 t dt. And this gives you the spectrum g omega minus omega 0. This means that if we multiply the signal by e to the j omega 0 t, the spectrum of the signal is shifted by an amount omega 0. Continuing from the previous slide, we see that similarly, if we take the Fourier transform function gt e to the minus j omega 0 t, then it yields the spectrum g omega plus omega 0. In practice, the frequency shifting is achieved by multiplying the signal gt with a sinusoid as follows. You take the Fourier transform of gt cos omega 0 t. This will give you the Fourier transform of a function gt multiplied by half of e to the j omega 0 t plus e to the minus j omega 0 t. We are writing the cos term in terms of exponentials. And as before, we will find that the Fourier transform comes out to be equal to half of g omega plus omega 0 plus g omega minus omega 0. Hence we find that multiplication of a signal by a sinusoid shifts the spectrum g omega by an amount plus minus omega 0. So we can say that gt, the signal, is going to modulate the amplitude of the sinusoid cos omega 0 t when the two are multiplied. So this is simply amplitude modulation, where gt is the modulating signal, cos omega 0 t is the carrier signal, and gt omega 0 t gives you the modulated signal. Our interest is in digital communication systems. So for this, we need to understand the impulse train and its spectrum. You can see in the diagram on the right, on the left hand side, you can see the impulse train, and on the right hand side, you can see it's a spectrum. The beauty is that the spectrum of an impulse train is also an impulse train. The only thing is it is in the frequency domain. It is in the frequency domain. So let us see how we can represent an impulse train. The delta t0 is going to be represented as 1 upon t0 summation n going from minus to plus infinity of e to the j n omega 0 t, where omega 0 is equal to twice pi by t0. And now if we take the Fourier transform of this, we will get twice pi by t0 summation n from minus to plus infinity of delta omega minus omega 0. And this gives us omega 0 delta omega 0, which shows that the spectrum of an impulse train is also an impulse train, only it is in the frequency domain. The most important thing as far as application of digital communication systems is concerned, the defining theorem is the sampling theorem. Let's begin by its statement. A signal whose spectrum is band limited to b hertz, that is, all values of g omega for omega greater than twice pi b will be 0, can be reconstructed exactly, that is without any error, from its samples taken uniformly at a rate r greater than 2b Hertz samples per second. In other words, the minimum sampling frequency is Fs is equal to 2b Hertz. Now let G bar T equal to Gt delta Tst represent the sample signal. Ts is 1 upon Fs. The nth impulse is located at t equal to nts and it has a strength gnts. The value of t equal to nts is G bar T equal to Gt delta Tst. And this simply is summation over n of gnts delta t minus nts. Continuing with the proof of the sampling theorem, we see because the impulse train delta ts is a periodic signal of period ts, it can be expressed as a Fourier series. So the trigonometric Fourier series is given by 1 upon ts 1 plus 2 cos omega st plus 2 cos 2 omega st plus 2 cos 3 omega st and so on, where omega s is equal to twice pi by ts, which is equal to twice pi fs. So G bar T, which is equal to Gt delta Ts, will come out to be equal to 1 upon Ts Gt plus 2 Gt cos omega Ts plus 2 Gt cos 2 omega Ts omega St plus 2 Gt cos 3 omega St and so on. So if we want to find out G bar omega, the spectrum corresponding to G bar T, we will have to take the Fourier transform of G bar T. Continuing from the previous slide, we find that on right hand side the Fourier transform taken term by term is found to be, if you look at the transform, the first term is just gt, so the Fourier transform is going to be g omega. The second term is gt cos omega st, so the transform, the second term will consist of two terms, g omega minus omega s and g omega plus omega s. Similarly, transform, the third term will consist of g omega minus 2 omega s and g omega plus 2 omega s. The second term represents the spectrum g omega shifted to plus minus omega s. The third term represents the spectrum shifted to plus minus 2 omega s and so on. This means that the spectrum G bar omega consists of G omega repeating periodically with a period omega is equal to twice pi by Ts radians per second or a frequency Fs. And as a series, we can write G bar omega is equal to 1 upon Ts summation n going from minus to plus infinity of G omega minus omega s. In order to reconstruct Gt from G bar T, we should be able to recover G omega from G bar omega. And this is possible if and only if there is no overlap between successive cycles of G bar omega. Now you can see that this is possible only if Fs is greater than 2b. So the sampling interval is going to be equal to 1 upon Fs. So Ts should be less than 1 upon 2b. Thus, as long as the sampling frequency Fs is greater than twice the signal bandwidth B given in Hertz, G bar omega will consist of non-overlapping repetitions of G omega. When this is true, the figure shows that Gt can be recovered from its samples by passing the sample signal G bar T through an ideal low-pass filter of bandwidth B Hertz. This is mathematically defined in terms of Nyquist rate and Nyquist interval. The minimum sampling rate Fs equal to 2b required to recover Gt from its samples G bar T is known as the Nyquist rate for Gt. The corresponding interval Ts equal to 1 upon 2b is called the Nyquist interval for Gt. We have proved the sampling rate should be R greater than 2b. However, if the spectrum G omega has no impulse or its derivatives at the highest frequency B, the signal can be recovered from its samples taken at a rate R equal to 2b Hertz. In the case G omega contains an impulse at the highest frequency B, the rate R then must be taken to be greater than 2b Hertz. Such is the case when Gt dt will come out to be equal to sine 2 pi bt. This signal is band limited to b hertz, but all of its samples are 0 when taken at the rate of fs equal to 2b starting at t equal to 0, and then dt cannot be recovered from its Nyquist samples. It is always nice to familiarize oneself with the people who made the theory that we are studying today. This is a photograph of Harry Nyquist. Historically speaking, in 1928, he published a classic paper on the theory of signal transmission in telegraphy. In particular, Nyquist developed a criterion for the correct reception of telegraph signals transmitted over dispersive channels in the absence of noise. Much of Nyquist's early work was applied later to the transmission of digital data. The sampling theorem is actually named after Claude Shannon, and you can see in the picture on the left shows Claude Shannon working with a maze experiment for artificial intelligence at Bell Labs, and later in life this is what he looked like in his library. Shannon introduced the sampling theorem to communications theory in 1949, and that is why for some reason it is also known as the Shannon sampling theorem. However, the interest of communication engineers in the sampling theorem can be traced back to Nyquist in 1928, as I've already explained in the previous slide. The sampling theorem, interestingly, was known to mathematicians. The corresponding mathematical theorem was first proved by E.T. Whittaker in 1915, and you can see his photograph there. I would like to end this presentation with a quote from E.T. Whittaker. This is just an aside, and it also demonstrates that you do not need to confine yourself to one field of study in particular. The quote goes, "There is no ground for supposing that matter and energy existed before the Big Bang and was suddenly galvanized into action. For what could distinguish that moment from all other moments in eternity? It is simpler to postulate creation ex nihilo divine, will constituting nature from nothingness." Thank you.